Hey everyone, it's Sammy from Push Square, and I was lucky enough to play through Shadow of the Colossus for the umpteenth time recently, except this time I actually got to play the new PlayStation 4 Remake, and I'm going to review that version in this video, but before I do, please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel for more PS4 content, and with that said, let's get into the review. So I think it's probably fitting that one of the greatest games of all time should be graced with one of the best remakes of all time. For some years now, the Texas-based Bluepoint has set standards with various high-profile remasters like Uncharted the Nathan Drake Collection and the Metal Gear Solid HD Collection, but Shadow of the Colossus sees the studio elevating its work to the absolute next level. I mean, this is for all intents and purposes a painstakingly faithful resurrection of Fumito Ueda's iconic 2006 opus, and yet it can stand shoulder to shoulder with the very best that the PlayStation 4 has to offer in 2018. I mean, frankly, this is an exquisite conversion. Unlike the famed Resident Evil remake, for example, this return to the Forbidden Lands doesn't tinker too much with the nuts and bolts beneath the hood, but it's all been redrawn in dynamic 4K, if you're on the PS4 Pro anyway, and it just looks absurdly beautiful. Whether it's the way the grass dances in the wind, or the manner in which light breaks through a cluster of trees, ethereally illuminating a misty forest fog, the title's deserted plains look more mysterious than ever before, and the colossi themselves, unsurprisingly, are an absolute sight for sore eyes. So for those of you lucky enough to be embarking on this adventure for the first time, Shadow of the Colossus depicts the tale of Wanda, a warrior who's arrived at a dilapidated shrine with the hope of resurrecting his fallen female companion. The gods inform him that his wish will be granted if he carries out one simple task, and that's to slaughter all 16 of the noble beasts that roam the lands. And so, armed with a royal sword and a bow, you embark upon your task, dispatching each titan one by one. But the question is, are you ever really acting justly, or has grief clouded your judgment? I mean, much like Ueda's other games, this is entirely open to interpretation, and the game makes do with the shortest of scripts, allowing the actual action itself to shape your emotions. Despite all of the mechanics being introduced in the opening 10 minutes or so, each boss fight manages to challenge you in a unique way. There are definitely constants, like you'll typically find yourself climbing on top of the beasts and attacking their weak points, but the battles are all awe-inducingly original, whether you're running across the spine of a giant sandworm or playing hide and seek with a bearded troll. There's definitely a puzzle-like feel to the way that the battles unfold, and you'll need to figure out the steps in order to off the enemies. A lot of this revolves around a stamina bar, which limits how long you can grab onto objects. Seeing as you're going to be climbing all over your enemies, it's an important mechanic because they're obviously not going to be too impressed by the young man tugging on their fur. So, as with all of Ueda's games, there's definitely a degree of clumsiness to the way that the title controls, and that's despite Bluepoint modernising the control scheme. But the frustration is definitely drowned out by the sheer exhilaration that you'll feel when you bring these beasts to their knees. One battle sees you attracting the attention of a bird-like creature with your bow, and then leaping to catch its wing as it swoops down to attack you. And to be absolutely clear here, if you haven't played the game before, you kill this bird while it's flying high above a lake, and you're clinging onto its back. And there's another boss where you have to run up its sword, using its attacks to your advantage as you clamber across its biceps and onto the top of its head, and I don't want to spoil any more in case some of you haven't played it before. So while these battles looked absolutely epic on the PlayStation 2, the frame rate dipped into single digits as the hardware wrestled with the ambition of Ueda's imagination. The excellent PlayStation 3 Remaster cleaned up a lot of these complaints, but this remake sees the 16 beasts rendered in meticulous detail, and you can play at a fairly robust 60 frames per second if you're on a PS4 Pro. So the performance isn't perfect on PS4 Pro, and you can even opt for a sturdier 30 frames per second at a higher resolution if you prefer, but whichever way you play the game, I think you're pretty much guaranteed to see some of the greatest set pieces you'll have ever seen on the PS4 before. But honestly, there's so much more to the game than merely outstanding boss fights. Like, you're free to explore the entirety of the Forbidden Lands as you please, using your trusted steed aggro to get you from A to B. And the world, while stunning, is desolate. It's remarkable in an era of Ubisoft watchtowers that you're able to exist in a space that's just so empty. But this, of course, all plays a part in shaping the mood of the story. I mean, I'm hesitant to say too much in case some of you haven't played it yet, but let me just say that the game is masterful at marrying emotion to mechanics. And I mean, the gushing doesn't end there. I really could go on all day. I think the soundtrack with its exotic instrumentation is just incredible. The cinematography in the handful of cutscenes that the game has is extraordinary, and the ending, I'll just let you experience that for yourself. But look, rest assured, if you've played Eco, then you'll definitely be curious to see how the two titles tie together, and in my opinion, they do definitely tie together. I think a few purists may complain about the minor art style changes. Bluepoint has kind of rebalanced the contrast of the game's visuals, ditching the iconic oversaturation of Ueda's version, but I firmly believe the changes are actually for the better. I prefer the look of this remake, and if you simply can't stand the visual changes, then of course there's always the PS3 Remaster, which is very faithful to the original. So to conclude, this is one of the greatest games ever made, resurrected as part of one of the greatest remakes of all time. Shadow of the Colossus on PS4 remains faithful to the 2006 original, but its presentation is now on par with the very best that the PS4 has to offer. I mean, I don't really have much more to add to that, other than that I think this is a masterpiece. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let me know whether you're planning to pick up this version of Shadow of the Colossus. Maybe it's your first time playing the game, maybe you're revisiting it like me for the umpteenth time. Let me know in the comment section below. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel for more PS4 content, and until next time, thanks so much for watching.